The first rumble was barely audible, a low growl lost in the afternoon's cicada chorus. Alex, perched on the fire escape of his family's brownstone, pressed his charcoal harder against the sketchpad. The distant thunderstorm was a masterpiece of atmospheric artistry. Anvil-shaped clouds bruised purple against the fading blue, lightning spiderwebbing down like veins on a celestial hand. He meticulously captured the swirling patterns, the chaotic dance of energy he found both terrifying and beautiful. "Alex, dinner!" His mother's voice, warm with concern, drifted up from the street. He reluctantly capped his charcoal, the image of the storm imprinted on his mind. Inside, the aroma of arroz con pollo filled the small kitchen. His younger sister, Sophia, chattered about her day at school, oblivious to the meteorological spectacle Alex had witnessed. But the mood shifted when his abuela spoke. "Another roof gone on Willow Creek," she sighed, stirring her coffee. "That storm last week. Havenwood can't keep taking these hits." His father nodded grimly. "The insurance premiums are going up again. We're lucky our building is sturdy." Alex swallowed, the vibrant image of the storm now tinged with guilt. He knew Havenwood's vulnerability all too well. Nestled in a valley, it was a magnet for severe weather. The town's antiquated warning system was more miss than hit, leaving residents scrambling when every few weeks a fresh squall line came rolling through. Maybe there's something I can do," he mumbled, pushing rice around his plate. His father chuckled, a weary sound. "We appreciate the thought, Mijo, but you focus on your studies." Alex didn't press it. He knew his father, a pragmatic man worn down by years of hard work, wouldn't understand. But the idea had taken root. Back in his cramped garage, amidst dusty tools and forgotten toys, the seed of an idea began to sprout. The garage, normally a dumping ground, became his sanctuary. He scavenged discarded electronics from the local repair shop, broken radios, defunct weather stations, even a chipped satellite dish someone had tossed out. Sophia, initially curious, soon lost interest in the piles of wires and circuit boards that began to dominate the space. "It smells like old batteries in here," she'd complained. He ignored her, driven by a singular purpose. He needed sensors, processors, a way to detect storms further out and predict their path with greater accuracy than the town's unreliable sirens. He knew the theory. He'd spent countless hours poring over online articles and textbooks. But translating theory into reality was proving to be a monumental challenge. Tonight, he wrestled with an old oscilloscope, trying to coax a signal from a makeshift antenna crafted from coat hangers and aluminum foil. Frustration simmered. He was on the verge of giving up when a faint blip flickered on the screen. It was weak, almost imperceptible, but it was there. A surge of adrenaline coursed through him. He adjusted the dials, tweaked the wiring, and the blip grew stronger, resolving into a distinct wave pattern. Outside, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves. The night was calm, deceptively peaceful. But on Alex's oscilloscope, the ghost of a distant storm was already whispering its approach. The StormWatch 3000 takes shape. The air in Alex's garage tasted of molten metal and flux. A vibrant tangle of wires crisscrossed his workbench, uniting circuit boards, scavenged radio components, and the surprisingly potent Raspberry Pi. A projected schematic splashed cryptic symbols against the wall, a personalized Rosetta Stone. StormWatch 3000 was inching forward, a labor of love carved from stolen moments since the science fair. Lukewarm coffee was his fuel, the white-hot need to disprove the plagiarism accusations his engine. NASA's invitation was a dream ignited, yet the school's tepid apology left a sour taste. He craved more than mere exoneration. He wanted StormWatch 3000 to scream its originality to the heavens. He reached for his multimeter, the needle jittering as he tested the atmospheric pressure sensor. A mumbled tune escaped his lips, a telltale sign of intense concentration, his brow a landscape of furrows. Stubbornly, the display numbers refused to cooperate, deviating wildly from anticipated values. "Come on, where's the snag?" he grumbled. Hours dissolved. He chased errant signals, reworked connections, and initiated diagnostics, each failed test ratcheting up his frustration. The skewed pressure data threatened to corrupt the entire predictive algorithm. He grasped the theory, the elegant equations, yet the practical translation felt like wrestling a greased pig. Finally, conceding defeat for the moment, he slumped back, the garage blurring at the edges of his vision. He fired up his laptop, navigating to an online haven for amateur weather geeks. Posting felt like baring his soul to seasoned veterans, a daunting prospect. But necessity trumped insecurity. He crafted a succinct plea, detailing the perplexing issue, the lines of code he'd penned, and the specifications of his sensors. A snapshot of the circuit board accompanied the query, a digital flare in the night. Within the hour, a response shimmered from CloudChaser72. "Check your gain resistor on the pressure sensor amplifier. Could be introducing noise." Alex froze, his mind racing. The gain resistor. He'd been so absorbed by the sensor itself, he'd neglected the supporting circuitry. He leaped back to the workbench, pulse hammering in his ears. He pinpointed the diminutive resistor, a speck of orange and brown, and tested it. The reading was off, way off. He swapped it with a replacement from his collection, inhaled deeply, and reran the diagnostics. This time, the pressure readings locked into place, stable and precise. A grin bloomed across his face. He initiated a simulation, feeding StormWatch 3000 a diet of historical weather patterns. The system purred, the screen ablaze with cascading calculations, spitting out a prediction. A high likelihood of thunderstorms within a 20-mile radius. He shot to his feet, snatching his phone. He consulted the local weather app. Clear skies, infuriatingly clear. His brow furrowed, a tendril of doubt snaking around his heart. Forecasters were fallible. He desperately hoped StormWatch 3000 possessed a superior vision. He fired off a quick text to his mom. "Heads up, might be storms later." Then he resumed his work, acutely aware that his journey was far from over. Science fair dreams, the gymnasium throbbed with anticipation. A chaotic landscape of poster board constellations and gravity-defying inventions. Alex Ramirez gave a final tweak to the miniature anemometer perched on his exhibit, the StormWatch 3000 glinting beneath the unforgiving glare of the overhead lights. Months of meticulous work, countless hours soldering, coding, and calibrating, had led to this moment. "Whoa, awesome!" Leo Martinez, his closest confidant, exclaimed, his eyes wide with admiration. "What does it do?" A blush crept up Alex's neck. "It's a predictive storm system. It analyzes atmospheric pressure, humidity, and wind velocity to forecast severe weather, tornadoes, hurricanes, the works. See?" He gestured towards a compact screen alive with dynamic graphs and charts. "It offers earlier alerts than standard weather forecasts." Leo circled the setup, visibly impressed. "So, no more sudden deluges catching us off guard?" "Exactly." Alex beamed, a wave of relief washing over him that his creation was understood. He then walked Leo through the Doppler radar simulation, a vibrant, swirling vortex of crimson and amber dominating a larger monitor. Soon, a small crowd gathered, drawn by the blinking lights and subtle, whirring sounds emanating from the display. Alex found himself reiterating the purpose of the StormWatch 3000, his initial reserve dissolving with each enthusiastic inquiry. As judging time neared, the onlookers dispersed. Alex straightened his slightly oversized button-down, his palms slick with sweat. He performed one last systems check, a pit forming in his stomach. What if the judges missed the point? What if they dismissed it as mere technological flash? He caught sight of his parents navigating the throng. His mom's vibrant scarf a cheerful flag in the sea of nervous faces. He offered a weak smile as they approached, his dad radiating pride, his mom already framing shots with her phone. "Everything looks incredible, Mijo," his dad boomed, clapping him on the shoulder. "I knew you'd nail it." His mom focused on the swirling radar display. "Explain this part again, Alex." The color coding. Alex launched into his practiced explanation, detailing the pressure gradients and wind shear indicators. His parents listened intently, their nods and questions a comforting presence. For a fleeting moment, his anxieties receded, replaced by the familiar joy of sharing his passion with them. "So, this could genuinely safeguard lives?" his mom asked, her voice tinged with wonder. "That's the hope?" Alex responded, a surge of renewed confidence coursing through him. He had poured his heart and soul into this endeavor. He earnestly believed it could make a difference. Just then, a severe-looking woman in a tweed suit, clipboard clutched in her hand, approached his exhibit. Alex's heart hammered against his ribs. The judges were here. Doubts and whispers. The StormWatch 3000 hummed quietly, its miniature sensors rotating, bathed in the harsh fluorescent light of the gymnasium. Alex Ramirez stood stiffly beside it, his palms slick against the worn fabric of his jeans. 3 judges, perched behind a folding table laden with clipboards, loomed like vultures eyeing a particularly perplexing carcass. Mr. Stern, his face a landscape of disapproval, tapped a pen against his teeth. "Ramirez," he began, his voice flat and devoid of warmth, "you claim this device can predict storm patterns with a degree of accuracy exceeding current meteorological models." Alex swallowed, the dryness in his throat suddenly acute. "Yes, sir. The algorithm I developed analyzes atmospheric pressure, temperature differentials, and electromagnetic fluctuations. The triangulation system allows for precise localization." He gestured nervously towards the swirling vortex projected onto a small screen beside the model. "Triangulation system," Mr. Stern repeated, his voice laced with skepticism. "And this algorithm is entirely your own creation?" He raised a skeptical eyebrow, the gesture making Alex's stomach clench. "Yes, sir. I built it from the ground up using principles I learned in books and online courses." He hated how defensive he sounded. Another judge, a woman with severe gray hair pulled back in a tight bun, leaned forward. "The complexity is remarkable for a high school student. Have you had any assistance?" The word hung in the air, thick with implication. Assistance. It was a polite way of saying plagiarism. Alex's face flushed. "No, ma'am. I worked on it entirely by myself. I can explain the code, walk you through the calculations." Before he could continue, a ripple of whispers spread through the assembled students. Alex's gaze darted towards the source. He saw Kevin O'Malley, his perennial rival in science competitions, leaning conspiratorially towards a group of onlookers, his lips moving rapidly. Kevin's face was flushed, his expression a mix of envy and malicious glee. Alex couldn't hear the exact words, but the venom was palpable. He caught snippets. "Too advanced. Impossible for a kid. Must have copied it." The whispers grew louder, a low, insidious hum that threatened to drown out the hum of his invention. He felt a prickle of sweat on his forehead, a tightening in his chest. He tried to focus on Mr. Stern's disapproving gaze, on the gray-haired judge's skeptical expression, but the whispers kept intruding, poisoning the air. Mr. Stern cleared his throat, drawing Alex's attention back to the table. "We will need to deliberate further on this matter, Ramirez. You are dismissed." As Alex walked away, the whispers intensified, following him like shadows. He glanced back at the StormWatch 3000, its miniature sensors still rotating, oblivious to the doubt and suspicion that had suddenly enveloped him. The gym, once a space of hopeful anticipation, now felt like a cage. He had poured his heart and soul into this project, and now it was being dissected, doubted, and dismissed. The taste of victory, so close just moments ago, had turned bitter and metallic in his mouth. The accusation, the applause still rang in Alex's ears, a hollow echo against the sudden silence that followed Mr. Stern's raised hand. Alex had just finished his presentation, the miniature storm detection system humming quietly on the table, a testament to months of late nights and discarded prototypes. He'd even managed a joke about chasing squirrels with lightning rods, eliciting a chuckle from the audience. Mr. Stern, his face a stony mask, leaned forward. "Mr. Ramirez," he said, his voice amplified by the microphone, each syllable sharp and precise. "This invention, it bears a striking resemblance to a proprietary system currently under development by Omnicorp. Care to explain?" A cold dread washed over Alex. Omnicorp? He'd read about their research, seen their vague press releases, but his design, it was all his. He swallowed hard. "Sir, with all due respect, I developed this independently. My design process is documented in my notebook, here." He gestured to the thick spiral-bound book beside his model. "I started with open-source weather data, identified the gaps in current detection methods, and built the algorithms from scratch. I can walk you through the code, the schematics." Stern cut him off with a dismissive wave. "Open-source data, you say? Convenient. The algorithms, the sensor configuration, the similarities are uncanny. Too uncanny, Mr. Ramirez. This smacks of plagiarism." A murmur rippled through the room. Alex felt his face flush, a burning shame creeping up his neck. "That's not true," he protested, his voice cracking. "I can prove it. I have timestamps on every file, every iteration. I even kept a build log showing the modifications I made over time." He rummaged in his bag, pulling out a USB drive. "Here, look at the metadata, the creation dates." Stern remained unmoved. "The judges will deliberate. Please step away from your exhibit." The deliberation felt like an eternity. Alex stood stiffly at the back of the room, the whispers like needles pricking his skin. He watched as the judges conferred, their faces grim, occasionally glancing in his direction. He saw Mrs. Davison, his physics teacher, arguing heatedly, her hands flying. But it was clear from Stern's implacable expression that the die was cast. Finally, Stern returned to the podium. "The judging panel has reached a decision. Due to significant concerns regarding the originality of Mr. Ramirez's submission, specifically its striking similarities to existing, patented technology, we regret to inform you that Mr. Ramirez is disqualified from the competition." The words hit Alex like a physical blow. Disqualified. The hours of work, the sacrifices, the burning passion that had driven him, all reduced to this. A wave of nausea washed over him. He saw the disappointment in Mrs. Davison's eyes, the pitying glances from his classmates. He wanted to disappear, to melt into the floor. He grabbed his notebook and his model, the humming now a mocking drone, and fled the room, the word plagiarism echoing in his ears. A town divided, the aroma of abuelas eras con pollo usually chased away any storm cloud. But tonight, it just felt heavy. Alex pushed the food around his plate, the yellow rice reflecting the dim kitchen light like mocking suns. His parents exchanged worried glances. "Mijo?" His mother began, her voice soft as the cotton she sewed with. "It doesn't matter what those judges said. We know what you built. We saw you build it." His father, usually a man of few words, placed a hand on Alex's shoulder, the calluses rough against his skin. "They don't understand. They see a Ramirez, they see something different. But you, Alex, you are more than they can imagine." The words were comforting, a warm blanket against the biting wind of humiliation, but they didn't erase the sting of the accusation, the glares that felt like physical blows. He mumbled a thank you and excused himself, retreating to the sanctuary of his room. The next day at school was a gauntlet. Whispers followed him down the hallway, a low, buzzing hum of speculation. But then Maria, her fiery red hair a stark contrast to her normally shy demeanor, blocked his path. "That's bull, Alex," she declared, her voice surprisingly loud. "Everyone knows you've been working on that thing for ages. They were just jealous." Other classmates chimed in, a chorus of disbelief and support. Even Ethan, who usually only spoke to Alex during group projects, offered a clumsy pat on the back. The tide was turning, Alex realized. The initial shock was giving way to outrage. By lunchtime, the story had exploded. A petition demanding a formal apology from the Science Fair Committee was circulating online, fueled by angry comments and shared articles. Alex's phone vibrated incessantly with messages of encouragement and offers of help. Across town, in the cramped office of the Bayview Beacon, Sarah Jenkins, a local news reporter known for her tenacity and commitment to uncovering the truth, scrolled through the online chatter. She'd initially dismissed it as small-town drama, but the sheer volume of posts, the raw emotion behind the words, caught her attention. A science fair project, a kid accused of plagiarism, a community up in arms. It smelled like something bigger. She grabbed her notepad, a glint in her eye. "Time to pay a visit to Bayview High," she muttered, already picturing the headline. Hope on the horizon. The studio lights, almost caressing in their warmth, shone on Alex's face. He blinked, focusing on the reporter, Ms. Chun, whose microphone hovered invasively close. "So, Alex," her voice, polished and professional, cut through the air. "Tell us about the StormWatch 3000. What sparked its creation?" He swallowed against a suddenly parched throat. "Living here, you know how brutal the weather can be. Blackouts, isolation. I just wanted to find a way to forewarn people, to buy them time." He nodded towards the device beside him, a chaotic sculpture of wires, sensors, and repurposed components. Under the stark illumination, its makeshift nature was obvious. "And this?" Ms. Chen inquired, a subtle thread of doubt woven into her tone. "This surpasses existing systems in detecting storms, both in speed and accuracy?" "That's the aim," Alex responded, striving for conviction. "It leverages a suite of atmospheric pressure sensors, infrared detectors, and a custom-built algorithm that analyzes data in real time. It picks up on minute variations that other systems overlook, potentially offering hours of additional notice." He launched into a detailed explanation of the algorithm, his hands sketching invisible diagrams as he described its noise-filtering capabilities and pattern recognition prowess. He saw Ms. Chen's attention wane, yet he persisted, fueled by a fervent desire to prove its worth, to demonstrate it wasn't just scrap, but a genuine innovation. Across town, in a cramped, busy office at the Johnson Space Center, Dr. Eris Thorne paused, her fingers poised over a sandwich left half-eaten. The local news provided a muted backdrop, a drone she typically ignored. But the phrase storm detection and new algorithm snagged her attention, prompting her to glance at the screen. A gaunt teenager filled the frame, visibly uncomfortable but radiating a palpable intensity. He was dissecting atmospheric pressure gradients and infrared signatures, employing terminology that would sail over most heads, yet struck a chord deep within Eris. She leaned closer, abandoning her lunch. This kid, Alex, whoever he was, wasn't regurgitating cliches. He grasped the core mechanics. "The linchpin is data fusion," Alex declared, his voice growing steadier as he plumbed the technical depths. "By synthesizing multiple data streams and examining them holistically, we achieve unprecedented levels of precision." Eris smiled, a flicker of genuine warmth. The kid possessed brilliance, untamed and raw, perhaps, and lacking the polish of formal education, but undeniably there. She jotted a note on a nearby pad. "StormWatch 3000, Alex Ramirez, investigate." Back in the studio, Ms. Chun concluded the interview. "Well, Alex, thank you for sharing your ambitious project with us. We wish you all the best." The camera switched off, the lights dimmed. Alex released a pent-up breath. A strange cocktail of relief and disappointment swirled within him. He had articulated his vision, explained his process. But had he truly connected? Eris, having caught the tail end of the segment, reached for her phone. It was time to intervene. This kid deserved an opportunity. He deserved better than fleeting local coverage. He deserved to be acknowledged. NASA comes to Havenwood. The black SUVs materialized like something out of a spy film, gliding silently onto the cracked asphalt of the Havenwood High parking lot. Alex, slumped against the brick wall outside the principal's office, barely registered their arrival until the double doors swung open and Mr. Stern, his face a mask of bewildered anxiety, beckoned him inside. "Alex, there are some people here to see you about your, project." Inside, Principal Thompson was practically vibrating with nervous energy. Standing beside her were three figures in dark blue NASA windbreakers, the iconic logo emblazoned on their chests. The woman in the middle, Dr. Eris Thorne, extended a hand. Her grip was firm, her eyes sharp and intelligent behind wire-rimmed glasses. "Alex Ramirez? We're with NASA. I'm Dr. Thorne. We understand you built a rather remarkable piece of equipment." Remarkable? That was a far cry from copied. Alex swallowed, the lump in his throat making it difficult to speak. "The StormWatch 3000? Yes, ma'am." Dr. Thorne smiled, a genuine, almost warm expression that eased some of the tension coiling in Alex's stomach. "May we see it?" The next few hours were a blur. The NASA team descended on Alex's abandoned science lab like a swarm of highly specialized bees. Dr. Thorne, along with a younger engineer named Ben, and a woman who introduced herself only as Lena, the data analyst, poked, prodded, and scanned the StormWatch 3000. Lena's fingers flew across a laptop keyboard, lines of code cascading down the screen as she interfaced with Alex's system. Ben, a lanky guy with a mop of brown hair perpetually falling into his eyes, peppered Alex with questions about his design choices, his algorithms, the specific sensors he'd used. Mr. Stern hovered nervously in the doorway, occasionally offering weak suggestions that were promptly ignored. Principal Thompson, after an initial flurry of forced smiles and awkward small talk, retreated to her office, the door firmly closed. Dr. Thorne finally straightened, removing her glasses and rubbing the bridge of her nose. "Impressive, Alex. Very impressive. The sensor fusion is unconventional, to say the least. And the predictive model, it's remarkably accurate given the limitations." Alex's heart leaped. "So, it works. It works," Dr. Thorne confirmed, her gaze intense. "In fact, it works better than some of the systems we're currently using for localized storm prediction." She paused, then continued, "Alex, we're facing some serious challenges regarding the frequency and intensity of extreme weather events. Your system, it could be a game changer. We'd like to invite you to the Johnson Space Center in Houston. We have a program for promising young engineers, a job shadow opportunity. See how we do things. Learn from the best." Alex stared at her, speechless. Houston, NASA, it was everything he'd ever dreamed of, offered on a silver platter. Dr. Thorne offered a small, knowing smile. "And one more thing. The school board has been strongly encouraged to issue a statement acknowledging your ingenuity and originality. It'll be on the Havenwood High website by the end of the day." She turned to Mr. Stern, her voice losing its warmth. "I trust that won't be a problem?" Mr. Stern stammered. "And no, Dr. Thorne, not at all." He glanced at Alex, a flicker of something that might have been regret in his eyes. "Good," she said, turning back to Alex. "So, Alex, what do you say? Ready for a trip to NASA?" Vindication and new beginnings. The apology blazed across the school's homepage, a monument to Mr. Stern's agonizing week. Alex, scrolled through the carefully worded statement, the legal team's fingerprints all over it. Misunderstanding, premature judgment, commitment to fostering innovation. It was a hollow victory, but a victory nonetheless. He forwarded the link to his parents, a small smile tugging at his lips. His phone buzzed again. Dr. Thorne. Alex took a deep breath and answered. Dr. Ramirez? I trust you've seen the developments? Thorne's voice was smooth, professional, but Alex could hear a hint of amusement beneath the surface. Yes, sir, Alex replied, a little stunned that he was talking to a real-deal NASA scientist. Good. Now, about that invitation, the one to shadow our team working on atmospheric anomaly detection. Is it still of interest? Alex's heart leaped. The sting of the dismissal, the cold weight of suspicion, seemed to evaporate. Absolutely, Dr. Thorne. More than anything. Excellent. We're eager to have you. We'll be in touch with the details regarding travel and lodging. Expect a formal itinerary within the week. Thank you, sir. Thank you for believing in me. Believing in potential, Dr. Ramirez, is our business. Now, I have a team meeting, but I'll see you soon. The line went dead. Alex stared at his phone, numb. NASA. He was going to NASA. He whooped, a sound lost in the relative quiet of his room. He ran downstairs, nearly tripping over the family dog, Buster. His mom, Maria, was in the kitchen, humming as she chopped vegetables. He told her the news, the words tumbling out in a rush. Her face lit up, a genuine, unadulterated joy that made his throat tighten. She pulled him into a hug, a fierce embrace that spoke volumes. That night, sleep didn't come easy. His mind raced, a kaleidoscope of possibilities. He saw himself in a sterile lab, surrounded by blinking lights and complex equipment, poring over weather patterns, predicting storms with an accuracy that would save lives. He imagined designing new sensors more robust and reliable, pushing the boundaries of what was possible. He dreamed of standing before a panel of experts, presenting his findings, their faces etched with respect and admiration. But the dream wasn't just about the accolades. It was about the work, the challenge, the chance to contribute something meaningful to the world. He wasn't just building storm detectors. He was building a future, brick by brick, data point by data point. A future where his name wouldn't be synonymous with cheater or liar, but with innovator and protector. The path wouldn't be easy, he knew that. But for the first time in a long time, Alex felt a surge of hope, a quiet certainty that he was finally on the right track.